Start with the.
They're gonna be a moment.
Pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome to our Monday morning meeting. So if I could ask if my cohorts have read the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
April 1st.
Have a motion to approve the minutes. Got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve the claims filed with the county auditor in an amount of $247,717.60.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approve employee claims filed with the county auditor in the amount of $593.88.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve quarterly report from the auditor's office in the amount of $113,231.78.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Approve monthly employee trust report.
Looking good. Motion to approve.
I have a first,
Second.
I have a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approve minor plat for Justin Brown.
I'd make a motion to approve the minor plan.
Might want to let Chad go through his stuff.
Like that.
Okay, so this property is on Baxter Avenue between Jessup and Fairbank here on the east side of the road. This was rezoned by the P and Z body January 3rd, and then a resolution from A1 to R1 on January 15th, 2024. We've now received the plat of survey. Everything's in compliance. There was some discussion at the P and Z meeting of potentially using a driveway here that's established as an ag driveway with an easement. Since then, the owner has worked with Brian Kylieber, Secondary Roads Department. And there has been an authorized driveway off of Baxter and off the pavement. Since it's on odd pavement, the slope has to be 6 to 1. That will be inspected by Phil or Brian or someone from that department. As far as everything else, fee, lender consent, owner consent, treasurer certificate, everything's in compliance. And the legal description is accurate. So moving forward, I'd recommend you approve.
There's no extra stipulations on it or nothing like that by the P and Z conditions or anything.
Yeah, and again, that was done on the 15th, so this is just the confirming that the proposed survey is accurate and it's okay to file, and then that would go on to our mapping software.
I'll second John's motion.
All right, I have a first and a second. Do I have any further questions? All right. All in favor, signify by aye.
All right.
Motion carries. We have next up is a minor plat for Raymond Stutzman.
See where this is located on 150th Street. And there's a lot of activity on that road going east to west. There's a small grocery store there. There was some development done in this area by Jody Buff roughly 10 to 15 years ago. And this was rezoned, looking to expand to the east, January 3rd by the P and Z body. And then your body passed it on February 12th as far as a resolution. As you move forward with the plat of survey that's proposed, this is the grocery store that's in question. He's going to expand. There is a dock that's being discussed. There was some easement and some access here discussed to make sure that the current owner to the east can access his property. And then they're going to have a driveway over here, which will be an ag driveway. At the beginning of the discussion, Brian thought that they were going to widen the driveway, and that's not the case. So the ag driveway was authorized. Everything's in compliance in regards to, legal description, owner's consent, lender's consent. And, there is a base flood elevation that when the addition does get, expanded, the current base flood elevation in the area is 949. The current building has been confirmed by Crawford's, and the main floor is 952.7. Our ordinance requires that the any structure in the floodplain has to be 1 foot above, and they are actually going to be 3.7 feet above. Everything's in compliance there, no concerns, no calls, just basically another Amish property that is looking to expand. They're growing.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any further questions? Hearing none. I'd ask for, all in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. All right, approve the monthly report from the recorder's office, the amount of $11,056.13.
Motion to approve.
I have a first
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. Approve de minimis B Wells resolution.
I had that in your folder. We discussed this last week, basically just setting a limit on the prizes that the Be Well Committee can afford. I put together this resolution after you guys had discussed setting the limit at $50 upon approval of the county attorney. I did speak with Josh via email, and he did say that that minimal amount would qualify with the IRS regulations as de minimis.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, items for discussion. Place on file the following manure management plan. Francis site, Byron Township, section 27, RJS Ag, Byron Township, section 16, Ben Rec, Byron Township, section 25.
I make a motion to place them on file.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up is a cemetery certificates. Also need to set a dollar amount on that plot.
Was somebody gonna do a little bit of investigating on that? What's kind of the standard out there? Did anybody check on it?
Heard from one person that said it was 200, but that was for a special kind of cemetery. And then there was,
Perpetual care.
yeah, what was it? And then this one is not a perpetual care cemetery. So I don't know. And then I think I've seen something come through from Tony Bankston,
Yeah, that was,
but I think that's a cemetery that gets mowed and
That was the Littleton.
regularly, so. I don't know what
Well,
one.
And it's up to the family or whatever to do the surveying out there to make sure that it's an unused plot or whatever.
Right,
That'll be up to them in addition to the cost.
yes, and they were gonna go in and look at that on Thursday. I have not heard back. I haven't heard if he's picked a plot. What we'll need to do is, when we fill out the cemetery certificate, at that point in time, we have to have their coordinates.
And is Mr. Reedy here today? I was just wondering, another thing that I had a question on that is, once the dirt is leveled off and stuff like that, the reseeding, the settling and stuff like that, if that will be maintained by the family to get that done, the seeding and stuff?
That would be the supposition, yes. As to an update, Al Vanderhart and I met with No Youngblood Thursday and laid out an area that he's going to get identified. I presume he'll probably have to have a surveyor come in and say this is it, but once he has an identification on the spot, then he will bring you that identification, and at that point, he can pay for the plot and receive his certificate. As to the problem of older burials there that we don't know about, that is ameliorated somewhat by the fact that he's planning to be cremated. And so cremains normally is steeper, so wouldn't run into an old one if there is one there.
Bill, did he indicate whether he's gonna have, how many plots? Was it just for him alone, or is there gonna be
Well,
additional?
I think the proposed regulations allows up to 2 or 3 sets of cremains on one burial space.
Right,
The lot that's going to be laid off is a bigger plot. It is a full lot with 6 spaces. And then he will specify that he wants space 1 or space 2 or whichever. We thought as long as we're doing this, he's going to have to get a survey in there, lay out the whole plot, the whole lot. And if the issue ever rises again, we have a point of reference.
What do you and your cemetery board, what do they think is a fair charge cost?
Well, I don't know. I guess when we discussed it, we thought probably a fair charge would be what the townships are charging in their non-perpetual care cemeteries. And I don't know what they're charging. I know the Jefferson Township Cemetery is perpetual care, and they get $200. But a fourth of that goes to perpetual care. So, you know, that's the only one I really know.
By what, 100?
Now, once they buy this spot, I know different cemeteries, I think even like down to Krosky's different, like somebody buys the spot, but it allows for more than one cremation.
Yeah.
Placement there.
Yeah.
So once that's bought, there wouldn't be any further, if another family member wanted to use that, there wouldn't be an additional charge.
Well, it would depend on what he buys in the first. As I say, we have identification now on 6 individual spots in a row. He's going to use one of them. So the other 5 would be available for future sale. But if he buys only that one, if he buys 2, you know, whatever he buys out of those 6, the rest will be available if someone else wants to buy it down the road.
$50. Does that sound like a fair price? 150?
I'm leaning more towards that too.
I was thinking the 200 also. They can utilize the funds.
That's right, there's expenses, ongoing future expenses and everything there, just help them out. So I'd make a motion to use the $200 as the baseline.
I would second that.
With the caveat that it goes to the township?
Yeah.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Will that help you out, Bill? Will that get us one step farther in the process?
I didn't catch what the township had to do with it.
We were just gonna let the township have the $200.
Well, the township has nothing to do with that cemetery. Nothing at all, ever.
So that one would just go to the Pioneer Cemetery funding.
Well, we go to the county general fund, which funds the Pioneer Cemetery.
Right.
But that one has never been owned, maintained, or in any way involved with the township.
Okay,
It was
so
a church cemetery and then became.
So in the future, if we had a township that had cemetery, we could apply the same thing and go to the township instead of the
Right.
county.
right, and in this case, it'll just go to the town.
Yes.
Want to amend that motion, please?
Make that amendment.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second, all in favor?
All right.
Motion carries.
Thanks for all your work on this, Bill. Appreciate what you do in your board.
All right, I have 9:15, so let's open up the public hearing for the land use zoning request. Can I have, can we open that, please?
Motion to open the hearing.
Have a-
Anybody here for the
Second.
zoning hearings, please sign in. Thank you.
Have a first and a second, so let's move forward, tell me.
Okay, this is for approval of case Z as in zebra 2024-006, request by Eddie Helmuth to rezone 10 acres plus or minus from A1 agricultural to A2 agricultural. The applicant would like to retain 10 acres surrounding their dwelling and parcel off the agricultural land surrounding the dwelling. So this location is north of Otterville Boulevard on Grand Avenue and then south of 175th Street. Just to the west of Broadhead Metals, the active metal shop that was established roughly 10 or 12 years ago. In regards to the location, this is been read, the location, what we're talking about, the reason why we're rezoning it from A1 to A2, split it off. It's larger than a farmstead split, what I'm authorized to do, 2 to 4 acres. And it's smaller than a farm, which is defined as 35 acres or more. So thus we're going from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was a unanimous vote to recommend a change from A1 to A2. I did mention about the increased amount of traffic on Grant, which is the result of the metal shop to the east. In regards to any calls, we did contact 5 members in and around the location, took no calls, there was no comments at the meeting. Pretty straightforward, we do this all the time in regards to the size of a parcel, changing from A1 to A2. No restrictions, as I stated before, it was an 8-0 unanimous recommendation from the P and Z body.
I've got like a, any waterway through there.
Yeah, there's a lot of wetland. If you look there, there's some floodplain there to the east. If you look here. And so none of the structures in regards to the rezoning are affected by that. Any type of new structure that would have to be applied for a zoning permit would be checked by myself to make sure that there's a base flood that's followed. But as of right now, none of the structures from a zoning aspect are affected.
Yeah. It looks like to me, a large majority of this property is covered with trees, waterway. It looks like there was just one small dip in the one corner there of some row crop. Apparently that's been planted there.
Correct, to the north too. And again, that was just to basically square it off. That's what they proposed to take in regards to the number of acres. And again, there are some times where the minor plat has come down and change. Preferably, we like to have square lines if we can, but sometimes you just cannot.
Mhm.
You will also change the CSR map.
What percentage of this property is under 55?
Looks like most of it.
So if you look right here,
55.
so the property here,
Mhm.
you know, I would say a third strip is 55, then you have a chunks here of that are 43, and then this is all 76. And like you stated before, primarily all that area is trees and the waterway has not been tilled other than the north section there. That is right here in this area, and that's also 55 as well.
So basically, majority of it wouldn't be farmable anyway, row crop.
Unless, you know, there's a lot of tiling done, tree removal, waterway type established, you know, it could be. And again, one thing with A1 to the A2 district, anything that's an allowable use in the A1 district is also allowed in the A2 district, so they don't continue to farm. They're allowing,
It's still ag property.
correct.
Do I have anybody from the public that wants to speak on this?
Are you one of the helmets here? Or are you?
I'm a Yoder, I own the metal shop,
Oh, okay.
just come by to see what you got to say.
Planning and zoning recommends approval on this. Do I have anything else before we close the public hearing?
Is there any conditions on this?
No condition.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Do I have approval for this?
I just make that motion to approve this zoning request from the owner.
And second,
I have a first and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 9:20. Going right on schedule here. So I have a public hearing for the Smith's zoning request. If I could have a motion to open the public hearing, please.
So move.
I have a
Second.
first and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is opened.
Okay, this is for case Z as in zebra 2024-005, requested by James and Jennifer Smiths to rezone 2.35 acres plus or minus from R1 residential to A2 agricultural. Current future use of this parcel fits the A2 district better than the R1 zoning district, with the intention of establishing some CRP for a portion of this parcel. So a little bit of history to this, when it was originally sold from Pint to Schmitz. On March 8th, 2021, there was a resolution to rezone it from A1 to R1. At that time, I explained to the P and Z body, there wasn't a lot of great communication between the realtor, the seller, and the buyer. Knowing Jim and then sort of the things that he's been active in the past, I would have probably, if I'd known who was the buyer, I would have pushed it to be A2 originally. Since then, he's came into the office a few times in regards to trying to maintain his property without having to mow it. He's talked about potentially having some cattle, a horse, planting some CRP is his latest idea. As far as the location of this, it is to the west of Hunter's Ridge on Highway 220th Street, and then you go north on Frost and it's on the west there. The parcel is in between both of the Pints, Roger and Kenny to the west. That sort of explains the area. Look to the next slide. You can see the current parcel here. This is Frost Avenue. There's a manufactured home and a accessory building there that's in compliance. And then here to the east is the subdivision. This lane here accesses Kenny Pint. It has an agricultural dwelling and some accessory buildings to the west. In regards to the idea, you know, that if you go to the A2, you're able to have some small amounts of animals commonly. It would allow him to potentially plant this area that is in the floodplain to some CRP or whatever amount that he wants to potentially apply for. The main concern that was discussed throughout is concern from Lisa Childers, who also lives in the subdivision to the east. How many animals could be there? What could be done on the property? I did bring up the fact the state allows the P and Z body and your body to add conditions or restrictions to the parcel. There was several discussions in regards to the amount of potential animals that could be on the property. I did bring up that the past ordinance that was before the 2021 did specifically and clearly concisely communicate how many. That's no longer in our ordinance. So I'll give you an example. In regards to large animals, horses, cattle, buffalo, deer, elk. In the past ordinance, it was 1 per acre. Intermediate animals, hogs, sheep, goats, dogs, etc. 0.5 per acre, or 5 per acre, sorry. Small animals, poultry, rabbits, mink, pigeons, etc. 25 per acre. So again, we don't have that. So there was some discussion throughout the P and Z commission in regards to potentially 5 large animals or maybe 3 cow-calf pairs. There was a motion that did add the condition of limit to 3 cow-calf pairs or 6 total large animals. And it was 7-0, and then Elena Schmitz did abstain from voting because she was a relative. Obviously, you got an email about potentially speaking to one of you, Roger.
Right. And I did have a discussion with him. No, so what did it is.
So in regards to, my recommendation at the beginning of this, back in 2021, I would recommend it to be A2 to begin with. The accessory structure that's there is under 18 feet to the peak, so it is in compliance in regards to the R1 district. Everything that he's doing there currently is in compliance, but in regards to him planning the CRP, potentially how that program goes in the zoning district in regards to the application, I would anticipate that that's probably a hoop that he has to jump through. And again, Jim's here. Yeah, he can potentially comment on that as well.
I had talked to Jim and I think he realizes the CRP thing, it all depends at the time. I've had a lot of involvement with CRP and stuff. The farm program always changes. They got new things that come out, everybody, all of these programs, different programs got different criteria. Right now, the general sign up is closed. The least amount of ground that can be used now is for pollinator program, and you can go down to a half acre for that. There's some of the programs are required to have 10 acres plus. So it's kind of all over the place and what's open at the time, so it'll be iffy, and I think Jim knows that if he qualifies for one of the programs or nothing, so. And if he doesn't for that, he got plans on how to maintain and take care of it until something like that can happen, or if he decides to do the livestock issue or something like that, so. There's different options there for him to move ahead with that. And then I also want to know, there always seems to be that area out there's got drainage problems out there. There's always been talk about drainage problems. Is there any tile easements on this property, tile crossing your property there from a bordering neighbor or something?
I think there's a small one going under the road that goes over to the existing one in kind of by Kenny's. I don't know who owns that now. Bettersfield or somebody owned that, but no, they tiled it differently over there so they didn't have to infringe on anything. They made new mains down it, so anything old they didn't touch.
Yeah, so
Nothing's been changed.
this farm here was tiled within the last 8 months, 9 months. But you can actually see the trenches right there.
But not, my knowledge, there's no tile in my ground or anything. I think maybe one over there in Tim's coming across the road, it's a little small 4-inch thing, but that still goes into the old existing one over here, all the stuff that's been tiled, so nothing's changed.
Yeah.
The only other comment from anybody in the area besides the Childers was Jeff T. Meyer called, and again, he wants to make sure that everything's done in compliance because he actually developed that original subdivision and had to jump through a lot of hoops to get that subdivided. So that was the only other call.
Do anybody else have anything?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve.
second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right.
Hey, Jim. Before you leave, Chris will have you sign a condition about the number of cow calf pairs. Thank you.
Watch out, that gate's a killer.
Stating the conditions that Chad spoke of.
Go ahead, Jennifer. McBoone.
No, you can go ahead and just sign yours. You know, but all this stuff, so I mean, I don't know, make sure. Everything is there.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All the window blow.
Yeah.
Nine thirty, let's open up public hearing for Maryville subdivision zoning request. First, second, the hearing is now open. Go ahead.
Okay, so just to confirm, this is the final process in regards to the final plat. So this is the area between the Weepy Farm and the River Ridge subdivision that's already established to the north. This has already been rezoned from to the R3 district to allow the proposed development up there with 24 units. You can see behind you. And again, this is a smaller version. I brought both in case people couldn't see this one. In regards to throughout the process, it has been through the planning and zoning rezoning phase, and it went through the final plat phase with the city, 2 mile radius, P and Z, and the city council, then through the P and Z, and then to you. And then now we're back to the final checklist in regards to making sure that everything is in compliance. As we send it around to the department heads, we did have a few comments. One was through the county engineer. There was a traffic concern throughout the process from the neighboring homeowners. And again, obviously, if you're taking a subdivision and adding potentially 24 units, the traffic potentially will increase. One of the comments from Brian Kylieber was moving forward to potentially take a peek at, turning lanes for subdivisions in the future. And again, I would just state, and I stated in the minutes, that I don't believe that that's a planning and zoning issue. That's more of a road department issue that does traffic studies, speed camera studies, and accident studies. In regards to that, definitely something we could look into. It obviously add a lot of cost to a development if you were having to do that. I could see something like that potentially happening on Old Highway 20, potentially 150. This increased traffic in the area has actually started since back in 2006 when Denali's was prior Okoboji Grill. So there has been a lot of development and a lot of additions since 1999 when Lou developed subdivision. As far as what details that we are concerned with from the county aspect, that there was a motion by the Planning and Zoning Commission with the condition that there was 5 amendments requested by the auditor, which Maureen looks through things, everything to make sure everything is in compliance. Number 1 in your minutes, site plan is named either Maryville subdivision or Maryville addition, so it doesn't sound like another unincorporated town within Buchanan County. I've already communicated with the engineer on all 5 of these items, and they're in the process of being changed. And before it's recorded, we'll have communication, John will, with Maureen to make sure that everything is in compliance. Number 2, within the top right legal description in line number 9, the number 83.42 does not match the radius description to the left of lot A on plat, which is 83.43, so 1 digit within the legal description that is in the details. Number 3, the description on the lower portion, part 1, refers to the east line of lot A. Throughout the description as south line of lot A, we need to just change south to east. And again, the developers, engineers, all aware of these 5 points. Number 4, within the same description, instrument number 2004 should be number 2014. So again, minor, but these are just minor changes that need to be made. And then number 5, they also want to assure that all pages throughout this document are labeled lots 1, 2, 3 going left to right or west to east. Some are labeled 1, 1, and 1. So with those 5 items, in regards to our review with our department heads, the P and Z body recommended an 8-0. It's been through all the steps. Like I said, rezoning, preliminary plat, it's went through the city twice with the 2 mile radius review. The largest concern that I've shared with some of you, in case you've taken some calls, is Lou originally developed in 99 when he started his development. The road is actually a private drive. So throughout this process, there's been concerns on who's going to monitor and regulate any type of traffic from the new 24 units getting access to the golf course and Denali's restaurant. And so we're talking about their private drive here. And then I've explained in the past, and also to those that have called, the county, us have done our job. We have a paved road that access both of those facilities, the golf course and the restaurant. As far as that private drive, it was developed that way because Lou didn't ever want it to be annexed into the city for paying taxes. That's the reason. So that's one of those catch-22s, save on taxes, but that as far as a private road, the county, Scott, no one else is going to necessarily regulate that. That's gonna have to be a conversation between Brad, the developer, River Ridge Housing Development. And I know that those two bodies have started to talk via email. I've been carbon copied in some of them, so they're making headroom. Brad is, understands that something has to be done. He's also in negotiation, potentially purchasing the Ayler property, which would give him access and make a potential cart path to the golf course, and then be able to use the private road that is adjacent and adjoining to the Buchanan River that runs east to west.
So Chad, if I understand you correctly, the county's not gonna have any part of the loop drive that they're gonna be putting in. That's the developer, and they'll be responsible for maintaining it, keeping it cleared.
Correct. And there's no current proposed cart path that adjoins this property. All these are property lines and easement markings. There's no plans of making a cart path to there. I'm not saying that they can't drive across the grass and go on there, but again, that's gonna be one of those conversation pieces that has to happen privately. I've explained that. The individuals that I've spoken with about it, Marty Brown is the current River Ridge president. Spoken to Wayne Burke, Nancy Slocum, Michelle Van Sickle, Rick Crawford, Rick Mosier, Jeffrey Shanka, and Mary McGill. So everything that I told you today, I told to them. Everybody was professional about it. They're just concerned on 24 individuals, liability, extra traffic, age of the operators of the golf carts, all that kind of stuff is a concern. I tried to calm them in regards to the traffic that's always been from Louis Wendling's to Okoboji Grill and now Denali's. That's a private road as well. Private speed limit signs, communication, all those kinds of things can take care of any issues going forward. Again, those are private conversations that need to be handled between those two parties and bodies.
As far as possibility of accidents, I think there's more accidents at the curve there by Ayler's property, and
Yeah, bring up the we're talking right there.
that's where.
Yeah, no question. And I would say if I had a recommendation, being out there a lot over the past 15 years, these trees need to be clipped in a pretty aggressive way. There's a lot of walkers, especially between 6 and 7 a.m. in the morning, that, you come around there, the sun's in a certain direction. It can be a little bit blinding, but those trees need to be under control, in my opinion.
Have they established a housing, neighborhood housing association covenant yet out there? Or are they gonna be joining in with one that's already in place probably for the other homes there?
So Brian Eddy's in the process of developing Brad's. So River Ridge and Lou's old subdivision already has theirs established. And then Brad is in the process of getting theirs adopted. And again, restrictive covenants can be more stringent than what we said as a county. I always try to remind developers and homeowners that, we might have a 30-foot setback, but your subdivision itself might have 15 or 20. And that's what you have to abide by until that expires. And sometimes they do expire after 5 years. People forget to renew them. So
So we have potential for 24 units. That's good.
And December, they would be moving ahead with this, the cost and everything. They didn't figure it was a sure thing, getting them lots sold, I would think.
I think there's a couple interested parties from what I've been told. They want to start April 15th. They'll go with the infrastructure. One thing that you notice is if you drive out there, there's an elevation change from the pavement to the north property. One thing that'll have to be controlled, and it's on there, is a retention pond. When Lou purchased that property and started to develop, he had Jimmy Gallery go in and tear out all the tile. So that area has always been wet. So they're gonna elevate that grade for the road. They're gonna start the road, the infrastructure with the sewer and the water. And then they have an anticipation to work from west to east. And they talked about 2 units at the beginning. I assume that they maybe have those verbally spoken for. But again, in reality, Lou's subdivision started in 99. I think there's still 3 or 4 lots open. So, you know, we're Independence, Iowa. We don't grow like Lynn County or Blackhawk County. But again, it's a great addition. It's been a great area for the community. No matter if it's jobs with Denali's and Okoboji Grill or housing and tax base, it's pretty big improvement over the last 20 years.
Type of soils that are out there, you're gonna be an issue upcoming with leach beds out there. With the type of soils out there.
Yeah, so we're, with all the technology that's been developed in the past couple decades, every single one of these systems will have a alternative system. So you'll have your normal septic tank that breaks down solid to liquids. It'll go into a cocoa or a peat type filter. And then after that, it'll be pumped to a leach field that will be at an elevation that will be shallow where the wind and the sun can dry it out. We'll potentially curtain tile those to make sure that there's no issues. But in simple terms, it's actually treated 3 times instead of 2 because we know that the soils are a little bit tight and wet out there. There are streaks of sand through there depending on where you're at in the subdivision, but most of it is fairly tight clay and a high water table. Obviously, the river's close by.
Did they establish what their targeted value is gonna be on each of the units that they're proposing to put in?
Yeah, so in the minutes, they've stated anywhere from 300 to 350,000. And again, with the market currently, I don't know how you do it for any less.
I don't see too many kids out there. I mean, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. That pretty much limits you to 1 to 2 kids. So to me, it looks like maybe it's gonna be more of a area for your 50-ish type people, 40 to 50s.
Empty nesters.
Empty nesters, yeah. Big downsized stuff.
So they're pretty positive that they're gonna be able to move forward and sell this property and not have to come back to the board wanting to have a TIF district or anything like that.
Oh, no, right, no. Brad, I mean, I don't know his personal finances, but he's a pretty successful guy. And, you know, from what he purchased, what you go for to what he has in it now, he's probably put as much money in as what he purchased it for. So I think he wants to do whatever he's involved in, he's gonna spend the amount of money. He's not gonna be coming back to ask for any assistance. He would have done that prior.
Do we have any other comments from the public regarding the housing development?
I think I'll make a motion for the close public hearing.
We have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
A first and a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Public hearing is now closed.
I make a motion to approve the Maryville subdivision zoning request.
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, next up is to discuss extending the WECS comprehensive plan moratorium. Ordinance / comprehensive plan moratorium,
What's the expiration date on that?
May, and we're not gonna get through all of our public hearings by then, I don't believe.
Was it May 1 or end of May or?
I can't remember the exact, I just know it's in May, and I want time to go, I want time to. I don't want to be pushed, I want time to do it on our time.
Give you a little bit of, give you some insight. So Amber finished the minutes from Wednesday night, late on Friday. It's on my agenda today to get through it, and then I'll push it to Josh with the request that he has it reviewed to be able to get it on the agenda by 11 o'clock on Thursday. So that's my intention. I don't know what Josh's schedule is.
Right.
Obviously, we know that their department's consistently busy, but that's my goal, get through it today, review it, and then send it upstairs.
You're talking about the ordinance.
What got discussed and recommended last Wednesday.
Right, last time, okay. Here, Josh, now.
Man of the hour.
Watch out, that gate's a killer.
I just, before you walked in, I just stated that Amber had got through the minutes and all the edits on the ordinance, and I was gonna review it today and then send it up to you.
Okay.
With the request of potentially, having it on the agenda. We'd have to have it to Chris by 11 o'clock on Thursday, but I couldn't speak for you and what your schedule is this week.
Okay, I imagine I'd be able to do that. So, shouldn't be too much of an issue.
I would like to extend it through the end of the year, just so we have time. I mean, I don't want to push anything out, but we can, it's easier to cancel it once we're ready to cancel it than it is to continue to extend it.
So in your in your folder was a copy of what you passed last May. And in the last paragraph, it stated it was approved for a period of 1 year. At such time, the moratorium could be extended if deemed necessary by the Buchanan County Board of Supervisors if passed by resolution. That was approved May 15th.
Okay.
Because you were asking about the dates.
I would prefer to extend it to May 15th of 2025. And go for a full year. And that way we get everything else done. We can always cancel, but it gives us another year to work.
I think so, because we, we're not, we haven't had the meeting, the public hearing on the ordinance, we haven't did any of that, so we can't guess. There's no.
Well, and they still have the
What's
process of the
there.
comprehensive plan.
So that's all iffy yet, so I think it needs an extension, also, because it give us enough time. And we were wondering right from the get-go if, when we did it, if we'd have enough time. Because everybody got busy lives and the P and Z board is, they got their own personal lives and businesses and work, so it's just a matter, takes a while to work through these things.
The only other thing I'd add is, so with my comments, I'm just talking about the recommendations for the ordinance change. Now, also on that same line of the agenda, talks about comprehensive plan. So go back to that topic. If a firm outside that does it for a living, right, their time frame was gonna be anywhere from 15 to 21 months. We're gonna do that in-house. So be realistic that with us developing a task force and having meetings and coming to you with a presentation of updating the comprehensive plan, that's a secondary topic. And I'm not sure that will be done in 12 months. Not saying it can't be, but look how long it's taken just to go through the WEX ordinance in itself.
Now, it's a new WEX ordinance when it comes before us. Are we gonna be able to make modifications to that prior to approving it?
I think I'm not for sure on that. I don't know if Chad's got any info or Chris,
Or
or
Josh.
maybe with Josh being here, if
Yes,
if we could
legal.
make modifications to that, or is it a thing you accept the whole thing or make modifications? What's the flexibility for the board?
I'd have to check to make sure, but my understanding is what the P and Z committee gives to the board is recommendations. So if there was something that you wanted to modify, I would think you would have the authority to do that. So does that answer your question?
It kind of does. I spoke with Chad previously about it. There's a couple of things in there that I think we need to discuss and agree upon before we sign that into a ordinance. So
I would have the same take as him. I would have the same opinion. Have the ability to amend, discuss, but with that, I still think that if you were to rewrite a section, you'd have to still go through making the edits and making sure that the public has three times to read it and then adopt it.
So then that would extend our public hearings out one more time. So then we'd have to have 4 or 5 or 6.
So
I would make a motion that we extend our comprehensive plan moratorium to May 5th,
WCS.
for the to May 15th, 2025.
I have a first.
I will second that.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Josh, can you get us the right resolution to extend that, please? Oh, Chris has it?
Chris had it.
I'll update it and I'll
Thanks.
send it to you. I have it all in Word docs and I can make a few changes.
Will this be something that, will be on the county's, available for the public to look at?
They request, I think, and it's always in the board minutes.
That'd be available to view it on the website and,
I do not put resolutions separately out on the website. If we did that, we would be up to like
right.
almost 50 since January 1st. But they are all included in the minutes and the minutes are out on the website.
I just want everybody that was here, the public that's here, to know how they wanted to look at it, where it'd be apt to be found.
All right, next up is a 2018 agreement with the City of Buchanan
Yep.
regarding W35. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. Basically, we're trying to put together an agreement with the city of Quasqueton where we would end up paving up to W40, which is the road that comes, basically heads towards Winthrop. And so we'd be picking up W35 here. This amounts to about 1/3 of a mile. It's actually inside the city. And so that's why we would need the 2080. Now, putting it in perspective, if I can't even proceed with my project until I have an agreement with them because I'm not stopping at the city limits, but stopping inside. This does call for the city to pay us back over a 10-year time frame with 10 equal payments at an interest rate of 5%, a discrete interest rate of 5% annually.
I do have a question on this.
Yes.
So has anybody approached the City of Quasqueton to see if they can bond this amount? That way it doesn't tie up county funds?
It hasn't been done that way in the past ever, Dawn. I don't know.
I mean, I just know that's how Jessup gets some of their street projects done is we bond. We do a municipal bond. So I was just wondering, I don't know if Pulaski had that ability or if anybody had asked them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want, I like the project. I think it's a good project and I think it's very needed. And Pulaski is near and dear to my heart. I grew up there. But I just want to make sure I'm also protecting the citizens of the county.
Sure. Dawn, that's not a subject that had been really discussed in the past. And so I haven't discussed that with the city of Pulaski or for that matter, any of the small towns. I was just following past histories, the way things have been done.
They, where they're in the budget project and in the budget process and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how they can even get that accomplished and done because and the thing about it is their Quaski's looking at raising their levies and valuations going on. They do have some general obligations now, debt. So I can't speak for the council mayor down there, but I can't see that happening down there. My personal opinion. And I think they would be wanting to move ahead with the way the agreement's stated here. Has this went through the city council down there? We've always requested that this is voted on the city council and they've got the minutes approving this also.
Yes, and actually the way this worked is I copied them on what I was sending to the county attorney's office. And they went ahead and approved the 2080 as drafted. And then Don and I in the county attorney's office had some conversations and he said he was fine with it the way it's drafted. Because there was some concerns about having to plan laid out.
Like, yeah, once the project's done, have a repayment schedule, like an addendum added to it with the repayment schedule that spells out the interest and what those payments are gonna be, when they're gonna be due, just like what it will be done with the bond.
That gets a little difficult to do until you have the exact numbers too, but you could put in anticipated numbers or however, but
I mean, that will be done after at the completion of the project, because we wouldn't have those numbers.
And that is in this year's construction season, right?
not this summers, no. Matter of fact, it's really trying, and part of it was I'd pushed my farm to market fund as far as in the red as I could push it. And until I ended up getting the 500,000 in safety funds, which is upcoming on 2 weeks from now's agenda. Yeah, I can't let the projects faster. So I was looking at after July 1st for letting, which put me into this fall for my bridge and around. Now, had I gotten the safety grant sooner, I could have moved faster, but
So this will be in next year's.
it will be let this fall for starting the construction on the bridge this fall is what's anticipated. And then doing the paving in the spring. And so that could be where you're actually after July 1st of 2025, when you're actually done with everything, but I can't promise any of that because
It'll be 2025 calendar year, basically.
yes, part will start in 2024, finish 2025. And putting it in perspective, I had an email just this morning from Krista Taylor saying, Brian, you haven't let any bridges for a while. Well, I've been in the red there too.
This 2080 agreement was in your guys' folder, and on the back page, it does show where it was approved and signed by the city council in Quasqueton on March 11th.
Yep.
So it has been presented before them.
Has there been any utilities identified out there that's gonna be a concern in this construction work?
No, there hasn't, even though we try to cover it in the 2080 sidewalks and anything like that, but, no, Alex we've not seen any issues with any utilities. Those can become a major challenge. We're still truly working our way through the environmental issues, which usually we get through fairly smooth, but that's not happening as smooth, and I can't buy right away until I get through the environmental. I have to have environmental
Is that
clearance.
because the guidelines that went into effect a couple years ago?
Well, it's more interpretations of the physical guidelines is where most of our problems come into play. And I'll say yes. And one of the other issues is the historical natures too. And through the County Engineers Association, we're trying to get these bridges cleared again. In the about 1990, there was what we call the Fraser study, where they reviewed all the bridges to determine what was historical. They're saying that study's too old now. We've got to go through and review all of our bridges again. And what bothers me is, why did bridges that were cleared in the 1990 study now become eligible? And
Because they're another 25 years old. Maybe
30. Yeah, so
You've only got 260 of them to worry.
I only got 260 of them to worry about, and I've got some guarantees of being hysterical when they get there.
Historical or historical. either way.
Yes.
Because
However
having a
you want to
bridge
use
be
those terms.
historical, So you can't update it, does not sound like a good thing.
No, and the same breath, we're working on the historical bridge there, the Iron Bridge, trying to get those plans all approved and together too for letting.
Well, Josh, you had no issues here with the way this is going, apparently. I mean, this is all been run through you and everything, so.
No issues that I can recall. Don, I think you gave me some good feedback about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Frankly, I don't recall if that got implemented or not with the 2080. I don't know if I've seen it.
Actually, it wouldn't be
This is
done
what I got.
until the completion of it anyway, because. we
Yeah,
would've-
that was exactly
Yeah,
what I
it
sent
was
you.
an addendum
That was
that will be
exactly
added
what
to
I
it.
sent
That's
to
right.
you, Josh.
That's right.
Yeah.
By the way, nice to meet you.
Yeah. First time in person.
Brian, Josh, Brian.
That's right. I recall it.
No. Have no issue.
I have one question. I know in the past, the auditor's office has always done the invoicing once the project's finalized and track the interest. Is that something that's going to, I just don't want this falling under the table somewhere and getting lost.
Do we need to make that?
The auditor's office has always done it. We would assume they would in the future, but If
Just
there-
want some clarification.
if there's
What I'm
changes, we
looking
want to make sure we know that too.
Can
And
we
then are you
have
gonna
that
be,
Part of the motion, so as we have a history of it too.
yeah, and then the filing of this agreement, are you gonna handle that?
Yes,
Okay, down the Secretary of State.
correct.
And the city of Pulaski did get you original signatures, correct?
That's what I have right here.
Excellent, thank you. I
Okay.
talked to him, but I didn't know if, you don't always know if it follows through.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and move forward with this project and to the 2080 with the Wheaton W35 and authorize the chair to sign.
And have the auditor keep track of the payments once.
The auditor keep track of the payments, cycle, and to record with the Secretary of State.
And to add a 28, an addendum at the end. Once it's completed, once we know the dollar amounts.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll second that.
I have a first and a second, all in favor?
All right,
Aye. It carries. Agreement will be signed today. Next up is discuss Cummings Avenue road maintenance. Gentlemen, would you like?
Come on up here.
Come forward.
So, we wanna know where you guys stand on the Cummings Avenue. There's 4 houses on that road, all paying property taxes.
Tyler, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Tyler Hepler. I live on 1470 Cummings Avenue.
I'm sorry, and
Alvin Kepler, his father, I live right next door to him on the same road, been there for almost 25 years.
Thank you.
So I have, signed signatures from all the houses, all the families that are on the road. They would like something done about it, whether it's maintained, put rock on it, fill in the holes, whatever. We kind of want to know where you guys are with it. I know we're trying to get it to a Class A road instead of a B road. And to do that, we gotta jump through these hoops, so here we are. And I know, like, and he said, Brian, he said in like 1850s, they were established whether A or B road.
No, that didn't come until about 1970s.
Okay,
And
1970s.
what it was is, they were all Class A's in the 1800s. When they're dedicated as roadways, and the Board of Supervisors determined the roadway widths also.
Right.
Yeah, the real issue is in the 1970s, they decided we can't afford all these roads. And so they made the level of Class Bs to reduce your costs on the roadway maintenance.
Right.
And my basic answer is I don't have anywhere near enough money to maintain the road system I've got right now. And if you look at what you get for paying property taxes, only about 6 or 8 cents out of the dollar actually gets down to the roads.
On 4 houses at 30-some years.
My tax roll, and just have that farming ground right there.
But you use other roads in the county too. And the catch is I've got about 35 miles of Class B roads. And these aren't the only houses on Class B
How
roads.
many houses do you have on a Class B road?
I've got
Give me an example. I want names.
170th Street. Don't ask me.
Well, houses, how many
All right,
houses on a
all right.
Class B
I've
road?
got 170th Street
let's keep it quiet.
over to the west of Washburn Avenue.
Yep.
And that's about a half mile back in there. Then he's got a long driveway too. And then I've got 330th Street down by Quonset Avenue. And there's a good, it's not a quarter mile, it's 800 feet, let's say. And they keep it rock beautiful. Yeah, they do a good job in there. They've never complained about it.
Do they have
I've got-
traffic on that road?
What's that?
Do they have traffic going through?
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, most of these roads do too. Even the ones that, there was a gentleman requesting we vacate the Class B road because he's got too much traffic on it a while back. And his concern is he pays for rock, and other people drive on that rock too. I've also got one east of Buffalo Creek Boulevard, just north of 240th Street, and they want me to build them a new bridge. And if you start opening this can of worms up, first question is, where's it gonna come from? If you look at the road standards, doesn't anywhere near meet a Class B road, or Class A road out there now. It'd have to be graded up, and that could be an extreme, there's a significant cost to grade that road up into.
Wasn't there a width issue too that we have on the north end of it?
I was thinking there was, but I'm hearing from that we've actually got the 66, but everybody's encroached on that so bad, the fences and everything. But even at that, you start trying to grade that up, and there's a huge cost in trying to grade that up to get a 24-foot top.
So we have 4 houses on the road. All of them are wanting something done with the road.
They build on a Class B road, as you pointed out when we visited the other day. The road was,
For a
the
second.
road was mud when you
That's
moved
not-
out there.
Can we
Keep
discuss
it
a little?
Iowa
bit?
nice, guys, Iowa nice.
So what I'm getting at is there's 4 houses on this road, and you're wanting us to fork up the dough for the rock to fill in the holes that are caused by commercial use, period. I've got a camera at the end of my driveway. It shows everybody coming in and out of there all day long. They're huge trucks. We can't put the rock in the road and expect it to last for what we use the road for. So that means we should put a gate on each end of the road and maintain it ourselves. I mean, that would take care of the problem. Which, and we'd buy the rock and fill in the holes, but does that make sense? No, we're talking a road that's less than a half a mile long, and not even 20, 30 years or 50 years ago, when that first house was built on that road, you guys came up to his road,
Oh,
to his driveway, and turned it into a level way road. The next house in line is less than 100 yards from that guy's driveway. The next house after that is 100 yards. Next house after that, less than 20 yards. So you got this whole stretch of road coming down like this of house.
Yeah.
So why can you only go to this guy's house and not the next guy's?
again, that goes back to the time frame the houses were built on it too.
As soon as that house was built, it was level A road up to his driveway.
I'm gonna say it's a very safe assumption, and I wasn't here 50 years ago. So we're making a couple assumptions, but that was a Class A road. And again, it's efforts to reduce the cost of the road system. And so what they did was they left it a Class A up to that first driveway, because that was the only house out there. Then everything else became a Class B.
So we're in 2024 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're still hurting for
And it
funding.
all
Well, some of us are still talking
Probably.
2033.
makes,
I haven't quite made
makes a
it.
difference, you know, you got to add what you need in this day and age, not in the 70s, not in the 80s, not in the 1800s.
And we're not talking a highway, we're talking less than a half a mile of road.
Mhm.
Less than a half a mile. It might be like a third of a mile at that.
$5,000 would get you rock on that road.
If you go with the 4 houses,
$5,000 would get you rock on that road.
In my case, what I gotta do is I gotta pull the rock off of Class A roads to put out there. Because my monies don't just grow automatically.
Well, why don't we put some, cords across the road and see how much traffic that road gets?
Okay, so let's do this. I know after driving out there on that road,
Yep.
there's one part of it, the south end that's mush.
It's not the
And
whole.
it's not even, it's not the whole road. The rest of the road is good.
Yeah.
The rest of the road is built, actually, it looks like on limestone.
Right.
And that's never gonna go any farther. Like it is what it is, like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And we don't wanna start digging into limestone and trying to expand that part. There's that cute little stream also that goes through there. So we're only talking maybe 800 feet at the most on that, the sandy end, on that sandy end.
Yep.
That is a problem with that road. Is
Like-
there a way to just do that much and to get them?
What I could do, Dawn, is when I get asphalt millings, and I've got about 1 truckload full, I could put asphalt millings out there, because that would still meet within the current Class B policy. And we've done that before, where I can get where I get road millings.
Always, you know, the amount of Class Bs we got there, I'm always concerned about opening up a can of worms. Who's gonna come in here next under Class B and request the same thing? And then after that, somebody else, and then after that, somebody else. I mean, where is the potential of this stopping at? For as far as the request, I know in the past, the county has went up there and applied stuff and just, you know, to save costs for the homeowner and just reimburse the county back for what they applied out there and stuff. And then another question being, It sounds like you mentioned a lot of truck traffic on this road.
Lots of truck traffic,
Is there-
trucks, speed trucks, it don't matter.
Is there any way can you embargo a class B?
Legally, I could only embargo any road for up to 90 days. Beyond that, I cannot embargo a road. Maybe if that goes extra. But going back, I've got about one truckload of millings in Kowalski. I could have the guys take that out there, and we've done that before. We've done that before in Cummings. It's just I don't get millings that often. If they're in town and I can grab millings, I do.
Reason they're using Cummings, it's a shortcut to
Right,
get up to.
and it's my kid's bus stop, so we have to go that way.
Right, and it's a bus stop, like that's where the bus stops is on that same,
That's that.
end. Like, so then you have kids slugging through.
Holes.
How
um,
far is your residence from the south end intersection?
Maybe 300 yards, 400 yards, not very far.
How far will a load of millings spread? How many linear feet?
You're not all that far. You're talking 150, 200 feet is maybe a little bit farther than that, but you don't get that far with one load. When I get millings again, I could run some up there, but I don't know when I'm gonna get millings. I don't know who's milling what.
When we threw out some options last week when we talked,
Mhm.
we had thrown out the idea of if you purchase the rock, we would have our guys haul it out there and.
That's
apply.
in policy. That's the way it's been done. That's the way it's done on all the Class B roads.
Would they have the option of what size rock? Say instead if they did, but they wanted to go up from the small road that we usually use on the roads to the next.
Yeah, instead of 1 inch road stone, they want to use a 2 or 3. We've never argued that. We've trucked it out. It's
So when we're looking at Class A roads to go to Class B roads, what is the stipulation? I'm curious because I know where one location sits and it's on a Class A road the whole way down there, and what's like maybe 2 miles of Class A road, there's one house.
we've never, since I've been here, we've never moved a road from a Class B to a Class A.
I understand why. Your whole attitude for the last 25 years about it. But if you buy the rock, that's the only way you're gonna get it. done.
That's the written
When was the
policy.
last time that road grader went down my road?
I could,
Since he broke the bolts off,
since you broke the bolt.
bolts off into the thing,
It's up top.
right there at the top of the hill. Right
It's
at
been a
the,
while.
right at the beginning of the level B road from level A.
And now that's one I'm not familiar with, so.
Yeah, well, that's been 2 years ago or better.
I would bet he's been in there within the past 2 years, but we can get him in there most any time.
More
When
often
it's
would be the
appropriate.
thing. You know,
But
what I always did when I lived, when I there, I never went out that road when it got a little wet or anything, but we have no choice now, because we got a grandbaby that's gotta go there to the school bus. So I never went that way, and then it'd dry out, and then we'd have a decent road, you know,
Well, even by the time we got out there was holes in it, but as far as
it dried.
it was dried up pretty good. Yeah, we got out there. There was holes, Dawn.
I
You were
wouldn't
worried
go
about
for
getting
it.
stuck and I knew there was no way I was gonna get stuck in
you
that.
straddled the holes. If you had went
Oh,
the
yeah.
holes, you would have been buried.
Yeah, if it could have
You don't drive a
been.
car down there.
You'd
I
have been.
don't know how much good taking a grader down it's gonna do it with the condition of that south end like that.
Well, he pulls that edges back, he tries to build a crown back in there with the sods and everything. John, in that case, you got the sods you can throw in the holes. And they'll beat out pretty fast.
We need a base.
Well, we've updated class B roads before in this county where the guys have came back.
We've graded them, and we've done that on this one. Matter of fact, that south end of Cummings, where we're talking in there, did not have any ditches 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, we graded it up that way. So
When's the soonest we get a grader on that? When's the soonest we can get a grader on it?
when it's dry enough and if that's kind of if they said today, based on what I saw there, when I drove that, you could pull the sods and throw them in the mud hole. Yeah, it's a different blade operator in Littleton than it is up there.
It's all the way up to Bart's. Bogle corner.
Yeah, we can we could get a blade in there then. And if you said today, I'm sure we could probably get one around there today.
These gentlemen have a problem. Let's just try to resolve it and.
Yeah.
And keep it resolved in some form or fashion.
He plowed the driveway all year long,
The whole road.
that whole road, just so
Plow snow.
snow didn't sit on it.
Well, something,
And the other driver always came down here whenever it snowed. He came down through there with the grader. This new guy. I ain't
He
seen him.
wasn't supposed to.
Well, he's doing the right thing because you know there's families there with kids.
Yeah, and I mean, what happens in the middle of the winter time if we had to get to one of these houses in case.
An
of
emergency will go anywhere, anytime, in an
So,
emergency. Yeah,
So,
that's
but then we
where,
have to plow them out.
that's where I look for Scott.
Before the emergency comes, right.
Yeah.
well, the thing about it is when the same case of an emergency, you know,
There's only so much monies.
we're talking about time, you know, if there's
Yeah.
a medical emergency out there, needed to get an ambulance down there or something like that. We don't have time to go through all these hoops, Scott to get a hold of you,
Yeah.
and you get an operator to go out there
Right.
or drag the ambulance down there with a piece of equipment or something like
Right.
that. We always gotta have this road somewhat in the condition for emergency vehicles to
But
get
Clayton,
down there.
look at the lengths of some driveways too. You'll find people that have long driveways and it's the same answer.
But that's private ground, that's not. public.
Right.
Yeah,
That's up to them.
no, but you got the same
Is there no-
situation.
Okay, is there a way that we can have, especially on that end, because because that's a bus stop for a kid, is there any way that we can actually have the snowplow to zip through there since it's being used as a shortcut and everything else?
Not
like
with your
is-
current policy, unless,
Well, I think the current policy actually says something that I can, that,
Is the
the,
bus coming down?
all
your driveway?
jurisdiction and control over
Yeah.
area
Area
service system roads as provided in this chapter shall rest with the Board of Supervisors. That is 20.04 powers of the board.
yes, that's the powers of the board. What the guidance under your Class B ordinance is, it says I don't pay for the rock, I'll haul the rock.
My biggest thing is right away, he said that, oh, it's our fault because we built a house on that road. Well, without our houses on that road, you guys wouldn't have zero tax dollars besides what, couple $100 a year? Now you're getting it from 4 houses every year for the last, on average, 30 years. That's a lot.
I'm
It's
paying for
a
all
decent
that
amount of
road.
money, because
I
even
know.
if you go with, like he said, 300 ton of gravel per mile. Every 2.5 years probably, because you only do it 40% a year.
About
So-
4 years, yeah, I would.
So let's say
Yeah.
on our 2.5 years is way overdue. If you hauled 150 tons, because a half a mile, that road would be awesome shape every 2.5 years, and it would last.
Awful.
That would be the best base on a road you ever seen.
And that kind of goes back, the only way I can really do this.
So you're
is by-
talking about $1,600 at $11 a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every 2.5 years, that road would be beautiful.
That's just for the rock though, for all with whatever you guys pay for that.
And I got access to a skid loader. You can bring in 2.5, 3 inch rock. I'll fill in the big holes and they can scatter the rest on top.
The neighbor there across the road, he's got a little tractor too. He says, if they just dumped a load of rock out here, we used it and put it in the holes ourselves. That's all they'd have to do.
Our policy says you guys pay for the rock and it's
understand-
hauled out
I
there.
understand the policy.
That's all we're
I
asking.
understand the policy, Brian. I totally understand. And you keep going back to the policy. I get it. I understand that. Can we get past the policy?
The
Just a little
issue
bit.
is if you do that here, you're gonna have the other places where you'll have to do it too. And then you'll probably end up having to build a bridge then too.
Progress, time changes. Things do have to change.
Well, but the state code
Yeah.
is part of the
They're not
issue.
building more dirt. If a guy builds a house on the road, that's where he's gonna build it at. I built mine on that road there because I wanted to stay in the Jeff School District. I didn't want to go to Fairbanks. So
Sure.
then that's the only land that was available.
And
And
in
it's
this
at the right
case, it goes
CSR
back,
too.
in this
That's the
case-
Sandy Hill.
Yeah.
in this case, it goes back to who's gonna pay for the rock. And the
Mm-hmm.
policy says, hey, if you build on a class B road, we'll rock it, but you have to pay for the rock.
I don't wanna start having expense of going out and paying for rock on every class B road. Somehow, we're gonna have to figure out how this can be done. Because we're gonna have other people come in here and ask for dollars.
Right. And then
We already got to the hoop there with somebody wanting that bridge. I we worked quite hard on basically just putting in low water crossing for the people.
Well, I had the neighbors telling me, so I didn't know nothing about 2, 3 years ago, they were gonna do something with that road. Is that correct?
We were trying to figure out some way to keep the water from going on that washing down the wheel paths.
You were gonna
Yeah,
take 20 feet of this guy's yard, my yard too, make you move the bitch trees and stuff, bushes. Whatever happened to that?
it's limestone.
Somebody, you probably put your nose in it and said, no.
Hey, whoa, time out.
I didn't mean.
Let's keep it above board, no going
Yeah.
personal.
It goes back to that, when we tried to start looking at there, that's limestone in that hill.
Mhm.
That gets extremely difficult and expensive to remove and to move.
Right, because it is.
You need to remove it. Can't you just build on top of it?
Where we're gonna haul that much material in, and then it goes back to, it costs to move dirt.
I mean, when I seen that road, there's only like that one end that is bad. The rest of it is a good base, it's a good road. There's nothing that really needs to be done with the rest of it. It's just that one end. And unfortunately, that's the end they chose to do a bus stop at.
Sometimes we gotta go out that way in the winter time, because we can't go
Right.
the other way to drip it all the way across.
Regular road to the north.
And if we're
Really?
starting down that road and plowing the first how many feet of it, this class A,
Right.
are you back up then? Or are they not even
They'll
clearing the
turn
class A
around.
part?
Turns around.
Turn around.
Just starting.
We had, example, I think it was 290th where that pond was put in down there.
Mhm.
That's why I'm trying to work towards a compromise here. If the county, and we went out and graded up these roads and put some crown in these class B and not charge the homeowners for them and stuff like that. Is there a possibility of some compromise here where we'd grade that road so it would be a better road with a crown in it? And then you guys would go, and then we can haul some millings out there, and if you want additional rock, you would buy the additional rock. Can we compromise on something here on this?
I just feel like with the bigger traffic that's gonna come down through that road, it's just gonna, unless you stay on top of it and add rock every 2 years or whatever your guys' policy is on a normal road, I don't think it'll last.
Yeah, and
And we'd spend lots of dollars out of our pocket when we're paying property tax for roads.
And I know this guy where we put this rock at down there, if he finds out about this, he's gonna be in asking for rock down there in that class B road, I'll guarantee you
How
that.
many houses are on that road?
none.
None.
Okay, we have 4 houses on this road and a family bus stop.
But there wasn't any houses on the road a
But
number
you're-
of years back.
Brian,
But that's a whole
Wait.
issue.
that's in the past.
Up to his driveway is level A.
My fear is we do much improvement to this B road. There's gonna be more traffic on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's gonna wanna use the shortcut.
Right now.
You
I-
said Amish buggies
Yeah, they-
are using it all the time. And that's hard on your road too.
Mhm.
And they pay taxes too. And they're giving you money for the same deal.
But aren't these roads really for a guy to get from point A to point B as quick as he can? You know?
Yeah.
And if you gotta make it half a level A road, it's benefiting everybody, not just us.
Is there a way to go level A with that first part of that, just like you did at the second part, the other part of that? And then have the middle be, because there's no way in God's green earth do I want to go digging out that limestone that's in the middle of that. There is no way it would take dynamite to move it.
To answer your question, Don, it would take the board to change the classification on that road. But if you did that, you're gonna find a whole line of people wanting theirs changed too, because you got some that pay for rock and you've got some that just they see the opportunity, they're gonna want it done too. Actually, there's quite a few that pay for rock, even on when they don't have houses on there. And in particular, the John Boggy, and there was another name that was brought up that regularly pays for rock on their roads.
But they're using that to get to their farm fields.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Big difference.
a difference in houses.
Is there any farmers coming down there, farm machinery?
Farms, tractors,
I mean,
everything.
there's actually farm
Cultivators,
property right there.
No.
No, but they use it. I mean, Kelly Payton, he's down there all the time with different loaders,
Big loader.
tractors. It's their
Going
shortcut.
through there. Tractor, planter.
Is there a possibility to vacate that in?
But it's a bus stop.
Yeah.
Well, there's just,
It
it's
got
like,
complicated
if they
because of
take
the
that portion of the road,
Right.
but that would turn it over.
I mean, if you could do it where there's no commercial through traffic or something like that, that could possibly help, but other than that, I have no idea what you'd do there.
Mark of the bridge. But it
Why
doesn't
did
really
they make the
justify
bus
it.
Stop at the south end, not at the
That's
north.
the way
end?
they come. They have to come all the way up.
Then you
around.
Yeah, they had to come all the way over there for. Sure. And you've got a little boy that's gonna be dragging it pretty clean too.
So for sure, what I know we can do is we can blade that road and we will get a blade out on the road more often.
We can. And we could haul millings out there
And we
too.
can
And I've
haul
got at
millings
least
out
one
there.
truckload of millings is what I'm hearing.
Because we're not actually, that's, millings is something we don't have to purchase.
That's right. And the catch with millings is you can have big chunks in there. And that's the nature of asphalt millings. But I've only got about one load around. We have hauled millings out before.
But right now, the millings are just gonna sink into the hole.
And
Yeah.
So that
millings
has
should
to be-
be the first step before you put any additional rock in. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yeah, because that's where you got the big chunks.
You don't
No,
think like,
Tyler
But I
said-
don't have that much millings, so I could haul what millings I've got out there and
Had to. There.
we need a bigger rock base,
So-
like 2.5, 3 inch
Well,
rock.
you'd said something about.
And I would pack the holes.
About fieldstone.
Yeah.
Well, I can do a field stone too, if that's what you want. I'll pack it
That's-
up.
That would hold up better.
that
under
would,
that
that
mix.
does, yeah, that does. And
Yep.
so if that, especially as a matter of a compromise, that's a good step.
You gotta be agreeable to do that and then notify Brian when that's done, so we can bring the
They'll
millings
bring the
out.
millings out, whatever millings I have, I've got some in Hazelton. There's questions whether I have any left over at D22 and Buffalo Creek Boulevard, because I had some over there for a while.
But we'd have to do some pre-grading before.
No, it's best to pull these rocks in and then blade it.
Grade, okay.
And so that's really the best step, is if you want to get the fieldstone in,
Mhm.
then let us know to get the blade on it.
And then, did you give Chris the name of the paper with all that? Thank you.
And this process is going on. And we're gonna have to, detour and not let people use that road.
It's Clayton, it's just a matter of he's,
You
Probably
can
take the
bounce
skid
over a
steer.
boulder, you can fall in a hole. I mean, the hole's worse than a rock, in my opinion.
Right. Fresh
City
concrete at
does.
the Fairgrounds?
the city crushed a bunch of concrete a few years ago. Yeah, crushed concrete actually works very good for fieldstone if there's no wire in it. Or for road rock if there's no wire in it. We've tried buying some before that was supposedly clean. We had some issues.
All right, so from what I understand, here's the compromise. You're gonna put fieldstone in
Yeah.
and you're gonna grade it, and we're gonna make sure we get a grader on it more often.
Yes, as a matter
And
of
you're
fact,
gonna
you
put the
got,
millings.
I give you my phone number, you can call the office.
Yeah.
Kind of a fair when it needs bladed.
And if we can find millings of any sort, concrete or asphalt, whatever.
We'll bring them out.
Sounds good.
Anything that's free.
All right.
I just have a hard time buying my own rock. I know that.
Depends on the contractor, because a lot of times they want to put those millings right back in the hot mix.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is there gonna be any, is that all concrete with this Bosky project down there, or is there some asphalt down there that's gonna be milled out?
there could be, but the quantity would probably be real small again. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have just a touch of millings too, but they'll lose them on the shoulders.
Where be load counts?
Yeah, I can get what I can get.
Got to compromise, and then we can revisit the subject later if we need to.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Next subject, Mark, you want to jump up in here and join us, or you want to sit there, whichever you're more comfortable?
Come on up.
Mark Behrman with All Workers.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Josh.
All papers. See you around.
And I really only have one quote because there's only one machine out there in this size category. They looked at a Volvo and it would not do what. And Don had actually even initially started talking about just rebuilding his machine, which would put it down for an extended period of time. But then his son got involved with a rebuild back in Milwaukee, and they went through 3 transmissions in the rebuild. And they ended up buying a new dozer in that case.
What's the process? What's the price?
The price on this is $395,293, but our trade-in is about a $30,000 trade-in.
That's not a very big trade-in. Can't you do better on the trade-in?
That's the best we can do.
Oh, come on now. It's probably an antique.
It's still a viable piece, but
Okay.
that's a current value on it that we give.
Not
So
even
that,
another 5,000?
What's that?
Not even another 5,000?
No.
Just a little smidge.
Our best price.
But you can buy it after you get.
so we actually can look
Spend
through
more.
bids, and there's some state nationwide bid companies. But the issue you've got is trying to get the specs and everything to what you need. And like I said, John Deere doesn't make any.
He's talking about the old machine, I think.
Oh,
We do have some counties that put it on Purple Wave and do it themselves.
Yeah.
They have done that.
Yeah, we
in the past.
definitely could, if the board wanted to go that way. It's a risk you're taking because you don't know what they're gonna get. You don't know who's gonna bid what. You got Purple Wave, you got Big Iron.
Got Clinton County and Jackson County doing that right now with motor graders.
Are they coming out ahead or behind?
They come out a little bit ahead on a motor grader. Yeah.
So this is the only rubber tire.
This is the only rubber tired excavator I've got, and one of the things that it doubles as is, if we go back 30 years ago, we had a Wildcat snowblower here that mounted on an end loader. And so that was a big old Fiat Alice end loader. It wouldn't start when the temperature got below 20 degrees. And we pretty much, then we picked up an Oshkosh, which was built in 1957. But we ended up retiring it because we couldn't keep it running. It was always going through gearboxes. And then this rubber tired excavator, he puts a blade on the front and pushes the snow back with it. And it kind of eliminated my need for a snowblower. So the machine runs, it pretty much, if we have snow, it's running. If we, deep snow, it's running. If we don't have any snow, then they're out cutting trees with it and brush with it. And stacking and burning.
Is there any of our smaller towns that need an excavator? That could afford to pay like 30,000 for it?
Not just smaller towns,
No.
Independence would be the only possibility, isn't it?
Yeah,
They wanted to get rid of the road grader, that's why we made an agreement to start grading our one road.
well, and the other, if you look at Independence too, we bought their used end loader. So, so they, yeah, this is about a 2007 model, but it's got a lot of use and a lot of hours. Don keeps it in good shape. But you're still, Mark can speak for this better than I can, but you don't have too many more years and you'll be into hydraulic pumps.
Useful life is coming up on the end of the machine.
What, where's your budget at on this equipment? Yeah.
This is next year's equipment, so we're looking at delivery probably around December, January.
25 weeks. After we get the order, we place it with Cat, and then 25 weeks from now.
Okay, so 25 weeks, what are we gonna, like, is the price gonna hold for 25 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, just checking because we've had some that didn't hold before.
No, we've been pretty good through
Yeah.
COVID and everything that's been going on. The price that we quote is price that we give and we deliver. We don't have price increases added to product after we place the order.
Something we just went through, we talked about warranties, comparing Cat with Deere. Where's your warranty at on that?
84 months, 6,500 hour premier warranty. That's what we'll have on it. And the mileage is included with that. So when we come out to fix it, there'll be no mileage charges at that point.
And it wasn't cat and deer, it was case.
Extended warranty program?
Yes, that's what's on it.
So that's what's on.
Yeah.
Standard warranty on a machine is 12 months. And this is extended
This,
out.
this price is included, got that.
Don, you might want second shoot too, sorry. Yeah, this has the extended warranty. Yeah, it was case that would not go beyond 2 years on their back.
Extended warranty?
Yeah, that was the price.
This is about max of what we do for governmental entities.
You got plenty in next year's budget. Cover this.
Plenty is a description. Do I have it in next year's budget to cover this? Yes.
Sufficient.
Sufficient, yes. We're not buying a motor grader next year. This is about the same price as a motor grader.
Well, this has probably got governmental discount included in it, stuff.
Yes. Source well bidding. So they've gone out and done the bidding process already. So you're piggybacking on that program. It's an established bid.
Well, I know that's a busy machine. I see it out and about all the time, and your mile per hour is higher or something, because a lot of times you see him trucking right down the road with that O unit.
21 mile an hour. Obviously, it's one man, no truck and trailer to haul it. So that gives it the versatility of what you guys need.
Yeah, you could take a track machine and push the snow like.
Yeah. Yeah, tractor trailer to have to haul the excavator out, so.
Your budget's
not, thanks.
next year's budget's prepared for this then for you.
Next year's budget's prepared for this for me.
Put any cash outlay in this year's budget?
Nope.
Chris?
I'm looking.
About 750,000 in the next year's budget. We'll have about 200,000 in a truck and about 60,000 in a pickup. That leaves me with about 500,000, which this is about 400,000. That leaves me about 100,000 for miscellaneous that comes
You
up.
trading your pickup next year?
No, I hadn't, unless you want me to.
No, I thought you said pickup. I went, huh?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking that they're talking one out there yet. And we say pickup, we're talking the heavier stuff.
Oh, you're talking like 3/4 ton, 1 ton.
Oh, like a 1 1/4 that's ordered, that's actually wasn't 50, but 70,000.
You're not, with this trade-in, you're not limiting saying how many hours we can use it until we get the new delivery or anything like
No.
that.
It'll be in an operating condition when we deliver the new one. So. Put forward. You put 500 hours on it, that's fine. We're not limiting it.
Okay.
Need a motion to have Brian move forward.
I think Chris was looking up some information for.
You're probably looking at my new equipment budget.
800,000 is what he has budgeted for next year.
And we're spending 400 of it. Close to 400.
Yeah. Yep, it's a big one. Then I got a truck and a 1.25 tons for 70,000.
Dude, you're department head making sure this works, you know.
Let's put it like this. We've definitely done the groundwork on this one.
Well, I'm fine. Stepped out right
Yep.
and move forward with other options and attachments in the future.
Yep.
It's always been my belief that we don't want an aging fleet of equipment out there and then someday get caught trying to play catch up,
Correct.
having a lot of breakdowns, transmission issues and whatever. I don't want to see the county getting that predicament stuff. We need to keep a rotation here so we don't suffer from that.
We've been having the mild winters, so we haven't been working our motor graders so hard.
I'd make a motion. We encourage Brian to move forward with the excavator.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Sign the paperwork when I get that. Think they.
Public hearing, we're gonna have a small break for Clayton. Public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. While Clayton's taking a break, I just want to go over the general rules for public participation. When we open this up to the public comment section is the opportunity to address the agenda. A speaker may speak on one issue per meeting for a maximum of 3 minutes. Let's try to hold it to that. And keep the comments germane and refrain from personal, impertinent, and slanderous remarks. Otherwise, I'll have. Let's open up public comment. And I am gonna jump in here with something. They have a bill that's going through, if I can find it again, and it is regarding the Health and Human Services and the mental health districts. They have now, the House added on to that private entities can now submit a request for a quote to be basically in charge of the new regions, which I can't remember what they're calling them now. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and I'm not sure that we really want a private entity using government money to, this is my personal.
I think we're
Opinion?
going from calling region to districts. now.
Yeah, districts, that's, yeah. And, you know, it just doesn't seem right to have a private entity be able to do that, to have a district, because then they're going to push everything back into their little nest. So that's my public comment. Anybody else?
I had a question.
I think it's name and,
Tom Trahern, next era Energy, Marion, Iowa. I just had a question on the resolution. I thought there was just discussion. I didn't realize there was going to be action on the moratorium. But just a clarifying question, as you guys proceed from the planning commission recommendation, it sounds like the public hearing will be set soon. And if that ordinance makes it through prior to the year moratorium, would that, once the ordinance is approved, would that ordinance stand and the moratorium drop?
that ordinance will stand and we'll discuss a moratorium at that time, I would imagine.
I think the idea of the moratorium was to, till we do the comprehensive plan.
Mhm. Yeah, we need to get through
It
that.
has nothing to do with the ordinance itself. It's the comprehensive plan.
Right. Chris is shaking her head no.
I believe the moratorium, hang
The
on,
moratorium said,
I have it. It was on the wind energy conversion systems is what the moratorium that was passed a year ago was.
It's corrected.
But I was just looking for clarity. So
right,
I guess generally, I was assuming that if the public hearings were going to occur and the ordinance made it through the 3 hearings and such, upon adoption, the moratorium would be dropped because now you have the regulatory mechanism to function as the regulations for it. Now, I don't know where the comprehensive plan comes into that. That's just my clarifying. And if you don't know now, that's fine. I was just wanting to understand that a little bit.
There's kind of some unknowns here because none of us can speak and say what's gonna happen here when the public happens on this ordinance.
right.
It'd be foolish for us to say anything on that right now because it's not for discussion right now.
Well, yeah, and I'm just talking about the moratorium.
Yeah.
I understand there's gonna be quite a process probably.
Right. Just wanted clarification.
Yeah, thank you. Mike Carberry, Johnson County, Bright Future, Iowa. As a person that's written a comprehensive plan and wind and solar ordinances, normally the comprehensive plan is an overarching visionary document. And your ordinances are underneath that and they put the meat on the bone, as Tom was saying. So, you can move forward with, you know, the ordinances with where, because that's what regulates the wind and the solar and the roads and all the other things of the ordinances. And you can do the visionary documents anytime because they're not really the quote unquote laws. That's just kind of, your overall vision and where you'd like to head as a county. And that's kind of what a comp plan is, or comprehensive plan. So I think you got it right. It's the moratoriums on the wind ordinance and not the comprehensive plan. That's probably the way that it should be. Thank you.
Buddy?
Swati Radiker, Lynn County. I just, I'm trying to understand, I thought what John said, and this is, he can clear it, that all of you needed extra time to make sure the ordinance is done right, and that's why you moved it to 2025, May 2025. Does that make sense to John?
Yeah, and I think, and like we said, we can, if we get through the ordinance, we
Yeah.
can stop the moratorium right then.
Right, I mean, yeah, it'll come to a vote
Yeah.
at that point in time,
Oh,
or
that's-
whatever.
Yeah, I just, that's how I understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do I have anybody else? Back corner.
Up front, I got some handouts for you. There's some things that I'm not sure if we've been thinking about in the county.
Maybe his name is.
Name?
Bob Q, excuse me, Brandon. Yeah. I'm just gonna briefly go through that, so. I just mentioned that, I don't know if you'll remember it. There's one for the records there. Also I have 32 petitions. That'll bring us up to 808. Basically, the main question, number one, is what's the county's financial plan pertaining to possible WEX project? Right, from anything we've done, we haven't really thought about it, but here's some questions I think that are important. I mean, you know, working with schools, you always work with budgets, you have your budget in now, schools are approving it, and then for next year. So, you know, how many miles of gravel roads and driveways will be involved? What is the estimated cost for rock and grading? Now, and I don't know this, and Brian probably would, but what would be the estimated cost? Because there's got to be some bridge prep and repair before, you know, any of these vehicles would come on, I would imagine. I could be wrong.
More in the line of analysis. So you got to look at what loads are coming in. If you start looking at our bridges, we're not like where you got 40,000 vehicles a day going across them.
Right.
It's a limited number, so the fatigue doesn't become so much an issue.
But they're heavier vehicles.
But they're heavy.
A
That's where
cement mixer that makes 40 trips out to one.
does
turbine, yeah.
without a doubt.
So just trying to keep this as brief as possible. Who's liable for the paved roads that may be used and, you know, like Brandon, you know, the city of Brandon, you know, there's already semi-traffic and that road is not good. I mean, you're lucky because you don't take care of it. You know, Dugan's Avenue, Blackhawk Buchanan Road, LaPorte Road and Benton Buchanan Road all could be used. Now, a couple of those would be, you know, there'd be Blackhawk and Buchanan involved in it, Benton and Buchanan possibility. So point number two is how much time will it be before the county receives any funds? You know, the payments from what I've read for some of them, sometimes they give you 2 years before you receive the first payment. And a lot of them go usually like 7 years before it's up to 30%. Is it 5% the second year, 10, 15? Like Grundy Center was like that.
That's a graduating skill. That's
The graduating skill.
That's called for in state
Yes.
Iowa code has that.
Right. But I mean, are we gonna have some time period where we might have to pay some bills before we get any money for it? You know, well, for example, if there's local businesses or businesses that, will they need to be given money for the services they rendered? You know, like the rock, you know, the cement and those type of things quite often are local businesses. Will the county have to create any bonding? And what will that look like?
Potentially we will, because I think from what I understand is they'll come through, they'll ask for some roads and bridges or driveways or whatever to be widened. culverts to be extended because, they have a certain need for that equipment to get in there. And then after that is done, after they're completely done with the project, then we go back in, we narrow everything back up to what it was ahead of time, and then you get paid. So that process seems like it will be a lengthy process, and I know we don't have the funds in secondary roads just for that cash outlay. That would have to be something that would be bonded for.
How about a key question? Will you be forced to tax the landowners in Buchanan County? For this, for this progress, for this project, if it goes through. And the other thing is, you're gonna ask people who, the majority seem to be against this project, you're gonna ask them to pay more taxes. And then another question is, not picking on anybody, but, emergency management, the roads department, the environmental department, we don't see them at any meetings. Now, you're at meetings frequently, but are you in any extra meetings? Shouldn't the people most affected, shouldn't the people most, I don't want to get Brian to talk too much.
No.
I want to get home before noon.
Right.
I've been to the meetings in Brandon.
But it seems like, those people are gonna be affected.
We need to start winding it down quick.
I'm gonna wind it down quick. See, he's talking, taking my time. Anyway, so the bottom line is, I think those people need to be involved, those groups. And the last thing is, as a county, are we prepared to handle the potential financial burdens of a WEX project?
Those are good points.
All right. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
I can, yeah, but I don't know if they'll let me.
Well, you
I just,
Yes.
Wendy Spears Laggy, Buchanan County resident, Planning and Zoning Commission member. We worked 20 months on this WEX. We work on a lot of different zoning issues. We're also looking at the comprehensive plan. And as stated, when this all started, the board asked us to do the WEX portion of this to take the pressure off of us. And we appreciate that. We've done our job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just.
He has something to contribute, I think.
Yeah, just to address the concerns, we would pay for the costs, and we leave the streets in better condition than when we came. We video it, it's all me. It's actually in the ordinance, that we would do that, and we would gladly do that and a part of that. And clearly, if we need to widen a bridge for equipment and such, we would do that as well. So there shouldn't be any bonding by the county necessary to raise taxes. Matter of fact, you would see a significant increase in millions of dollars to your bottom line over the life of the project.
And there's always alternate routes. I would imagine something like this project is like, if it would possibly move forward, you would present your route that you would want to use, and then the engineer would review that, and he might have to come up with an alternate route and say, I don't want you coming down this road. You're gonna have to use this road. You're gonna have to wind up doing another 3 or 4 miles of travel to get there.
And an alternate route for the Buchanan County citizens as well, because you don't want them on the same road. And according to you and Clayton, you are against higher road use, heavier trucks for Buchanan County farmers. Is that not correct?
For everybody, yes, because of the
Correct.
damage they do. That is correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. These semis that they're gonna be using are 10 times more destructive than a farmer.
Yeah.
And their semis.
The studies from Iowa State, actually the worst so far that they study are the liquid manure tanks. They take the 10, 12,000 gallon liquid manure tanks. Those are the worst. The Balzer is now building a 2,850 bushel grain cart on 3 axles. And
How many of those are in Buchanan County?
they haven't been building it that long.
How many of these, how many of what you're talking about is Buchanan County? I'm talking about the farmer
Yeah.
who pays the taxes.
Yeah.
Who puts their grain on the road. I want to, you can't put those people in the same category.
Yeah, but the damage is what they basically do. And we haven't discussed this too much, but the damages in the way other counties have done it in the state, They've literally turned the road over to the constructing authority. And then they brought it back. And I've had concerns on this, without a doubt, Wendy. But they're supposed to bring it back in better shape than it was beforehand. So that's the
So
heavier
we,
trucks.
we as Buchanan County citizens and farmers who haul our own grain should expect nothing less out of Buchanan County right now.
Well, if you're paying for the roads completely, and the issue is most of my money comes from property tax. The vast majority of my funds come from road use taxes, gas tax.
And I pay those.
You pay some gas tax.
I
but
pay a
the
lot of gas
agricultural-
tax.
But the agricultural loads, a lot of that dyed fuel doesn't pay, and yet the grain all goes across the roads.
I pay semis. We pay for the gas tax.
Okay,
And we pay a lot of money for gas tax.
Yeah.
My fuel bill last year alone was over 50 grand. I pay
yep.
my
there's-
gas taxes.
Yeah, in their case, like I said, like they were saying though, they pretty much take the roads
Brian.
over, which is a concern. Too much talking?
Yeah, please.
But I think the whole thing is something
My
like,
apologies.
something like this. There is what you call the pre-evaluation and the post-evaluation of the condition. And if Brian feels that there was more push down, there was damage to the road, then they're gonna have to take care of that.
Well, actually, my whole comment had nothing to do with WEX. Thank you.
Yes, Kathy.
Kathy Cole, P and Z, Commissioner. I have one question. Why do we have to build the roads up for them to bring everything in, and now we're gonna tear that all down? Wonder if you have a blade go out and you need to bring a new blade in, or that particular turbine is, what do I want to call it, decommissioned. And you have to put new blades or whatever, so now we have to build that road back up so you can bring that.
The permit.
I'm assuming that you have to.
And I
have
got
the
that,
road-
I'm sorry, I got that from a Delaware County supervisor and what they did with theirs. And that might be a different company
I
too.
mean, are the roads taken back to where they were? Why would? That's your.
I actually don't know how we've done that. Sure, it depends on the county and working with the engineering.
Because if you have to bring something back in again, say 10 years down the road, you have a blade go out or that particular unit goes out, but you're gonna.
Yeah, there's haul routes that we do maintain every one of them. So there may be improvements done, and you'll see radius turns, I'm sure, in Delaware County that the turning radiuses are changed,
Okay.
and things like that. But it's a pretty extensive process, like that, like even with the moratorium conversation, we're years out on a project. So, the time to take to do it right is great, and we appreciate that, and, we want to work with the county. Granted, here it's a little long, but, hopefully we can get it resolved here in the next 2 months. But the improvement plan that gets done is it goes through the board, it goes through the city or the county engineer, and it's pretty extensive. And we like to involve everyone. EMS would certainly be involved, and sheriff's department would be involved. I mean, it's a lengthy process. We'd also do public meetings to talk about it so that people understand what the route looks like and what the impacts would be. Certainly, we would avoid all the cities. We don't want to drive that type of equipment through cities. We may have to, but we certainly don't want to.
This is the most information you've come forward with. Thank you.
It's a small
Thank
group.
you.
I'd be happy to speak.
Well,
All right, anybody else?
I'm Alan Dodge. I'm a farmer from Buchanan County. And I was driving a feed truck back when they were building all those turbines over in Delaware County. And I was going by when they were doing it. I couldn't figure out why they were widening these, and it was, and that's what the deal was, so they could turn into this stuff. I'd go over those same roads that they were doing. I mean, everybody's all freaked out about this super heavy equipment. I didn't see any road damage. I drove there for 3 years. They looked the same after they come in and built what they did after. And I think he's addressed, that's something that next era will take care of. I think the real thing we all got to think about we had a big boo about roads here and money. And I bet they're not having that problem. I know they're not having that problem in Delaware County. Because they've got a bunch of turbines that are bringing in a buku amount of money. And quite frankly, you're a friend of mine, you're a friend. I appreciate you believe in what you're doing, I appreciate that. But they just now have got a county zoning board. And a lot of good things have happened out there without a county zoning board. And quite frankly, nobody can deny this ordinance you come through is built to shut down the whole project. I mean, there's nowhere, look at the plat book, there's nowhere you can be a half a mile away from anything. That's ridiculous. And
But I also know people in Delaware County that are living in their basement because of noise and wind turbine stuff. They're very sick.
I'll
So
tell you what, I don't, Dan somebody. He claims he's got.
it's not even Dan.
Huh?
It's not even Dan.
And
It's not Dan.
But I've talked to other people that, I mean, it's kind of like this old lady from Walker said, you know, there's a big boo when they put up cell towers. And now everybody has forgotten.
I want to interject one thing here. This is public comment time. We're supposed to be receiving comments from you. We can't, if we get asked a question, what we're gonna do, we can't answer. It's not on our agenda and stuff. We accept your comments now, and we can't get into a debate about something at this time because it's just not allowed for us to be able to do that. And with you gals being on P and Z boards, you know how that works with you. Same thing, you know. We can accept comments, but we can't debate on them comments.
Okay, anybody else?
Version of an article from Robert Rice. Backlash against wind and solar projects is real, it's global, and it's growing. There have been at least 639 rejections or restrictions on U.S. wind and solar projects since 2015. All around the world, big solar and wind projects are being rejected. From rural England to the Osage Nation in Oklahoma, local communities are telling alternative energy developers to take their projects and put them where the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. These myriad rejections are a massive problem for corporate interests that are trying to build huge new wind and solar projects. Indeed, rural communities are standing between big business and tens of billions of dollars in tax credits. Given the vast sums at stake, it's not surprising that lobbyists for the wind and solar sectors are pushing measures that strip local communities of their zoning authority and hand that authority to state bureaucrats. In fact, 4 states have recently passed measures to do precisely that, and lobbyists in Iowa have tried. Alberta, Canada updated their regulations to include a ban on alternative energy projects on prime agricultural land. The rules will also require a 21.7-mile buffer zone between wind and solar facilities and protected areas or pristine landscapes. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, Italian energy company Anno lost a long-fought battle over Native American land. It was an embarrassing and costly loss for Anno and massive black eye for the U.S. wind industry, which has repeatedly tried to roll over rural communities in its inexorable thirst for tax credits. Media outlets may refuse to honestly report on the growing backlash against wind and solar projects, but the facts on the ground are clear. Fewer and fewer communities are willing to accept the destruction that comes with large alternative energy projects, and no amount of PR or spin is going to change that fact. The board will soon be getting the WEX ordinance recommendations from our P&Z Commission. These members have worked long hours researching, obtaining ordinances in other counties, and listening to the community. They did their best to fulfill their duty to protect the fertile and finite land of Buchanan County. The ordinances were written to reflect the solar ordinances that were passed in 2022, and with recommendations from Assistant County Attorney Joshua White, are in accordance with the Buchanan County ordinances and policies. We fully support the P&Z Commission and these WEX ordinances. We hope the board will also show their support for this community, the P&Z, and the proposed WEX ordinances in the weeks to come.
For serving Brandon. Regarding the October 4th and December 7th, 2022 P&Z meeting minutes, October 4th, Beatty suggested to the commission to recommend or require NextEra Energy hold a public meeting so area landowners are aware of what could possibly be taking place near their residences. So if the project does move forward, his office phone doesn't light up with complaints and inquiries once the project begins. Discussion to request for public informational presentation from Xterra Energy and the Board of Supervisors to inform the public on the project which may be coming to Southern Buchanan County. Xterra is Buchanan State, and they're definitely open to having a meeting in the future for the public, but currently they don't have all the land leases signed and don't want to be too public quite yet, due to a potential competitor trying to steal their ideas or territory. December 7th, Beatty said that after the Board of Supervisors meeting, he had 2 representatives from Xterra Energy come down and talk with him on their project. They showed Beatty several maps of CSR and how many buildings they could place around their proposed locations. Xterra would be more than happy to present to the public, the Planning and Zoning Commission members in a smaller setting without a lot of public attendance and go over their information they have put together. At this year's March 6th P&Z meeting, 5 Iowa resident Rand Fisher's introductory statement was, "I am speaking this evening in my role as Iowa State Director of the Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development. We discussed it with several people that attended that meeting, and they were all under the mistaken impression that Mr. Fisher worked for the state of Iowa. It turns out that Mr. Fisher is in no way affiliated with the state of Iowa, but is a spokesman for Xterra. They said they did not appreciate being duped by these types of tactics. Public records and investigative reporting have revealed some of the following cases of investigation against Xterra and its subsidiaries, including the Federal Election Commission's committee is investigating Xterra following a complaint centered on Xterra's role in ghost candidate election scandals, in which Xterra executives worked closely with Florida Power and Light consultants and orchestrated spoiler candidates and a web of dark money involved in multiple campaigns. 2 firefighter and police board pension funds had filed a class action lawsuit against Xterra, alleging that the utility executives misled and withheld critical investor information that resulted in $14 billion in investor value when the information became public. Xterra spent $20 million on a political campaign in Maine to block a competitor's transmission project. A 2023 investigation by the Maine Ethics Commission revealed that Xterra consultants secretly financed multiple groups in a hidden effort to block the project. In Jacksonville, Florida, the federal authorities are investigating Xterra's involvement in the failed purchase of its local utility. It was found that leading up to the bid process, Xterra claimed to give charitable grants to nonprofits with relationships to Jacksonville City Council members in order to curry favor with them. In its attempt to acquire the Jacksonville Electric Authority, Xterra hired lobbyists and advisors with deep ties to leadership in the city of Jacksonville. One lobbyist resigned as the chief administrator officer of the city of Jacksonville, and within 1 month had simultaneous contracts to represent the interests of Xterra and the city of Jacksonville worth at least $200,000. Another lobbyist was under contract with Xterra at the same time that he was acting as an informal advisor to the now fired ex-CEO of JEA. Is Xterra really a company that Buchanan County wants to deal with?
All right, you're out of time. John, I can't use your timer. Anybody else?
City. On my looking at these plans, these wind turbines will be possibly a quarter of a mile from our home. We have farmland all around. And I had stated at the last meeting, that it does cause vertigo because it has happened to me. I do not want these around our home. I want to be able to go out and enjoy the outdoors around on our farm. I want to be able to help my husband do our farmland, planting, doing harvest without seeing these and ending up with vertigo. But I cannot do any of that. So with the comment of people being stuck in their homes, yes, it does happen.
Anybody else? A public comment?
I have one more public comment.
Okay.
I'd just like to suggest what Wendy had stated about the heavy loads farming and stuff. We all know that, and it's been the Corn Growers Association people, and I've talked to people that have been in that stuff. In the near future, we could possibly be up to 500 bushel per acre. So, I mean, we're gonna have increased bushels to move on our roads and stuff. And I get it. That means that you put more bushels, in your truck to haul it, or you're gonna have to have an additional truck, additional help to help haul it. There's a lot of things that come into play when you're trying to move more product, how you're gonna get it accomplished and stuff like that. And I think Brian would agree with me. This, by the heavier trucks, there's been multiple studies already done out there by experts in the field through universities, people with doctor's degrees and stuff that did these studies that have proven that heavier loads, and nobody can deny that, do more damage to the roads and stuff. I'm getting at, with something like this, it always seems like our legislatures are always good at passing unfunded mandates. All we would ask, and I think Brian would agree with me, is that, okay, if we're gonna allow these heavier roads, it's gonna cost the counties, the cities more money to maintain their roads. If the legislature, if you're gonna do this, please provide us with some funding for the extra damages caused. I'm not against the heavier loads, but I want to know where the money is coming from to help take care of our roads. And we're in an era now, it's harder and harder for governments to, when they put on limitations, how much we can tax. And the fuel tax is set at a flat rate, and that they don't seem to adjust that and move with that. I would just like them to provide some funding to take care of our roads. It's not that I'm against the heavier roads. I just want to take care of and maintain them so that people can enjoy safe traveled road. That's my whole issue with it, Wendy. Yeah.
We pay a lot of
Oh, I get it.
every farm.
Yeah.
Because the tractor. The fuel is not the majority, it's the minority.
We're sitting in this boat, the legislature dictates what the board of supervisors can raise. And yet, I go back, I've been around long enough, 2004, the state says we can't afford all these state highways. So they dump them on the county and I'm supposed to be able to afford them. It makes no sense. And then they turn around with the heavier trucks. Chris Williams studies asphalts at Iowa State. And the tire pressures in the 1970s were about 70 PSI in the trucks. Now they run about 115. Chris Williams emailed back and he says, going from 70 PSI to 115, costs a 443% increase in the damages to your roads.
That's all we're just asking, legislature, if you're gonna do things like this, come up with some kind of funding mechanism, take care of things.
All right, any further comments?
I think to adjourn.
Hold it.
Wait,
Donnie's
I had a hesitant hand.
It really sounds like you as the Board of Supervisors will be facing some budget challenges now and in the future. And I just want you to keep in mind the advantages of wind turbines and what that would bring to Buchanan County and additional fundings. The other thing that was mentioned a lot at the P&Z meeting was 1974. I kept thinking about that year. 50 years ago is when the CSR regs were established with the 55. I believe that was what was talked about. And I thought 50 years ago, wow, things have changed so much in a dramatic way. Technology, we farm differently. We live differently. We have cell phones. We don't have landlines. I mean, it's just a totally different world. And then I started thinking about people that are near the end of their lives. What do they talk about? Do they talk about tomorrow or are they talking about yesterday? And I just think we really got to be looking toward the future. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Anything else? I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
I love it when we have people show up.
Oh, you guys.
Right.
No.
We do it all the time, and I didn't mean to ask any question.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.